Good evening, friends. Myself, Dr. Nidhi Darbari, on My Education Treasure. In my previous video, I had explained about micro teaching, its definition, and its origin. Today, in this video, I am going to explain about the phases of micro teaching. Phases of micro teaching. Micro teaching is a process of teacher training program that involves 3 phases of teaching where a teacher trainee is suggested to follow recommended steps in planning a micro lesson. These phases of micro teaching prepared by Clift has been described as the pre-active phase, which is also called the knowledge acquisition phase, the interactive phase, which is also called the skill acquisition phase, and the last one is the post-active phase or the transfer phase. In the first phase, pre-active phase or the knowledge acquisition phase, the student observes the demonstration lesson and analyzes and discusses the demonstration. In the interactive stage or the second phase, or it is also called the skill acquisition phase, the student plans the micro lesson and practices the skill. In the third phase, that is post-active phase or transfer phase, evaluation of teaching is done and the student is shifted to real classroom teaching. Phase 1 or interactive phase, which is also known as knowledge acquisition phase, involves the following major activities such as the orientation of teacher training on micro teaching. The teacher trainee needs to know theoretical background about micro teaching by having free and fair discussion of the important aspects. The knowledge of all the elements of micro teaching should be given to the students through discussion, illustration, and demonstration by the experts, such as concept of teaching, significance of teaching, the procedures of teaching, requirements and setting for adopting micro teaching techniques, its merits and demerits, the different teaching skills, and the demonstration of a skill is provided to teacher trainee. The second point is the discussion of teaching skill. The next step is defining the specific skill to be practiced to the teacher trainee in terms of the purpose and components of the skill, with suitable examples in the form of teacher behavior. It includes fixing up of those objectives which are to be achieved through that particular skill. The second step is the presentation of a demonstration lesson of the skill. During this step, demonstration lesson is given by the teacher educator in simulated conditions of the desired behavior of selected teaching skill before the teacher trainee, also known as model lesson teaching, for the imitation by the teacher trainee. Depending upon the availability of the resources and the type of skills involved, demonstration can be given in a number of ways. Like the teacher can himself teach the lesson, or by arranging a demonstration lesson from a live model, that is by the teacher educator or some expert. The teacher can also read out the micro lesson plan. The written model lesson plan can be distributed to the teacher trainees, containing all the knowledge of the teaching skill by handbook, guide, etc. The model lesson can be recorded and shown to the teacher trainees on television. By exhibiting a video recorded film or a video tape of micro lesson, the model lesson plan can be recorded on simple tape recorder and the teacher trainees can be given to listen to them. The observation of the demonstration lesson and criticism. At this stage, what is read, viewed, listened and observed through a model lesson is carefully analyzed by the teacher trainees. In a demonstration given by the experts, teacher trainees are expected to note down their observation regarding the specific skills. They can also differentiate between the components of the good plans and the bad plans, and also get the opportunity to recognize the good points and the bad points. An observation schedule of the specific skill is distributed to the teacher trainees, and they are also trained in using the observation schedule beforehand so that they can criticize the plans. Such observation of the model lesson plan and its relevant criticism provides desirable feedback to the person giving the model lesson. The second phase or the interactive phase. This phase is also known as the skill acquisition phase. This is also the third step of micro teaching. In this, the selection of a particular teaching skill and preparation of micro lesson plan is done. In this step, each teacher trainee prepares a micro lesson for a particular skill for 5 to 10 minutes duration with the help of teacher educator. While planning a micro lesson, the importance is given to the technique of maximizing the use of behavioral components involved in that skill than the subject matter. The activities are planned in a logical sequence where maximum application of the component of the skill is possible. The creation of micro teaching setting. The teacher trainee under this step is considered to create proper conditions by arranging appropriate material required for teaching practice. The teacher trainee is also provided certain required facilities by the teacher educator to make the lesson a success. The Indian model of micro teaching lesson plan is as developed by NCERT is below. In this, the number of students in a class is 5 to 10. The type of students ought to be real students or preferably peers. The type of supervisors are teacher educators and peers. The time duration of a micro lesson is 6 minutes and time duration of a micro teaching cycle is 36 minutes. If you found the video to be informative and interesting, I request you all to please give a like to the video to motivate me, share it for others and subscribe it so that whenever I upload a new video, you will get a notification. The time duration of micro teaching cycle is 36 minutes has been further divided into first the teaching session which is of 6 minutes, feedback session which is again of 6 minutes, replan session is 12 minutes, reteach session is again of 6 minutes, re-feedback session is of 6 minutes. The total duration of micro teaching cycle is 36 minutes. The practice teaching of a small group. Fourth step. Under this step, the teacher trainee teaches a micro lesson to a micro class of students in a simulated condition. The peer group acts as students. This group consists of 5 to 10 students. The teacher trainee divides themselves into groups of about 10 each. One teacher trainee teaches, one fills in observation schedule, one acts as a timer, and the remaining 7 teacher trainee act as students. Teacher educator acts as a supervisor. This teaching period is called teach session in micro teaching. Only one teaching skill is used in one lesson. The efforts are made that all the components of the teaching skills are properly used in the lesson. The lesson can be videotaped or audio taped if facilities are available. If there is no provision of video, then any teacher can supervise the teaching task of the teacher trainee. Other associate teacher trainee can also supervise the teaching task of the teacher trainee and fill the observation schedule of the teacher trainee. The teaching goes for 5 to 7 minutes. If the situation is different and not as visualized in the planning of the activities, the teacher trainee should modify his or her behavior as per the demand of the situation in the class. He should have the confidence to handle the situation arising in the class effectively. Fifth step is the feedback. This session is also called as critic or discussion session. The advantage of micro teaching lies in providing immediate feedback to the teacher trainee on his teaching performance, that is the weakness or strength. The lesson is observed by the teacher educator and the peer group with the help of appropriate observation schedule. Tallies and the ratings on the observation schedule may be used while giving feedback. This helps the teacher trainee to improve upon his or her performance in the desired direction. The suggestions are made for modification and improvement. Feedback can be provided by the mechanical gadgets like videotape, audio tape recorders, closed circuit televisions, etc. If the lesson is recorded using an audio or video tape, the teacher trainee can auto feedback himself by using the recorder. By self-direction, he can understand the shortcomings of his lesson and thereby improve it. For auto feedback, the tape recorder method is not suitable for all the teaching skills. Arrangement of videotape and closed circuit television is excellent for auto feedback. replanning session. In view of the feedback received from the different sources, the teacher trainee replans the same lesson or a different lesson, incorporating the points of strength and removing the points not skillfully handled during the teaching in the previous attempt. For replanning of the lesson, the teacher trainee is provided 12 minutes. The reteach session is the next step. The replanned micro lesson is taught by the teacher trainees to the same group of students if the topic is changed, or to a different group of students if the topic is same, to remove monotony of the students. The same procedure of observation as used in teaching session is followed. The teacher trainees reteaches the class, which is usually of 6 minutes, with renewed courage and confidence. Re-feedback session. The supervisor observes the reteach lesson and gives re-feedback to the teacher trainees. The teacher trainee is again observed by the peers, teacher trainees, the supervisors, and provide feedback to the teacher trainees. On the basis of the observation, the teacher trainee is provided re-feedback to master specified teaching skills. Phase 3 or post-active phase. This is also known as the transfer phase, and it deals with the integration of the various skills. The sixth step is the integration of skills. The integration of teaching skills does not mean a compulsory utilization of all the required teaching skills in one form or the other. Integration of teaching skill may be defined as a process of selection, organization, and utilization of different teaching skills to form an effective pattern for realizing the specified instructional objectives in a teaching learning situation. The main objective of this phase is to enable the teacher trainee to integrate and transfer the teaching skill in real classroom situation after attaining mastery level and command over each of the skills. This phase is most crucial for the teacher trainee because it involves various skills. The integration of teaching skills can be studied in the following form, that is, the integration of teaching skill in parts and integration of teaching skill as a whole. Integration of skill in parts. During this stage, the individual teaching skill acquired by the teacher trainee are integrated in part and not as a whole. The time duration of teaching exercise for integration depends upon the number of teaching skills to be integrated. Time is increased 4 times if there are 4 skills to be integrated. To integrate the skills, all the steps like feedback, replan, reteach, re-feedback, and replan are carried out in control settings, and this process continues till the teacher trainee acquires a reasonable level of mastery over the integration of the skills in simulated conditions. After acquiring mastery in the integration of these skills, the teacher trainee is required to apply the integration of these skills in real classroom settings and have sufficient practice in real teaching. Integration of skills as a whole. In this approach, opportunity is provided to integrate all the individual teaching skills by taking them as a whole and not in parts. It is a sort of mini teaching, bridging the gap between micro teaching and teaching in real situation. While giving a lesson, a teacher has to make use of all the individual skills acquired through teaching. During micro teaching, one can learn and master the individual teaching skills just as a technician may learn about the specific parts and functions of a machinery. The integration of skills require the following consideration on the part of the teacher trainee: the full knowledge of the content of the topic taught, the knowledge of instructional objectives, the existing teaching learning situation and available facilities, the scope of utilization of learned individual teaching skill, decision about the aspects like selection, organization, sequence, and integration of the individual skills in preparing and presenting the lesson. Repetition of the integration process for acquiring sufficient practice. Thank you very much for patiently watching the video, and don't forget to subscribe.